Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. First off is welcome and thank you for joining us on our webinar today on enhancing the hybrid work environment by deterring cyber attacks and maximizing employee contribution. I'm Eric Wentz, and I'm the CEO of Coeo Solutions. And today, there are a few telecom challenges facing customers that are as prevalent and as important as preventing cyber attacks and ensuring that employees operating in a remote or hybrid environment can maximize their contributions through unfettered access to networks, systems, and cloud infrastructure. We're all having these conversations daily to help find the best solutions for our customers and prospects. And as a result, we wanted to help the agent community better understand how we think organizations might tackle these challenges so agents are as well prepared as possible to have these conversations with their customers. We also know that there is a lot of experience on this call, so we'd like to make this as interactive as possible. If you have a question or experience that you believe would be beneficial to the group, we'd welcome your perspective. And to address the challenges caused by cyber attacks or remote work environments, we set out to determine how we believe we could deliver the most appropriate solutions to solve these issues on behalf of our agents and their customers. And in many cases, it became clear that a combination of SD-WAN and SASE are the tools that best address these challenges. And based on our past relationship with Versa Networks, we believe that they are the best partner to help us address these security, network, and performance issues, and to ensure that our partnership results in completely satisfied agents and customers. Over the past year, we've been very busy enhancing our relation with Versa by investing millions of dollars to upgrade our infrastructure to the latest Versa platform and software to give us the greatest ability to service our customers and give full domestic and international coverage for any SD-WAN, security, or SASE opportunity. We've also further invested in training and certifying dozens of engineers, support, and sales personnel on the solutions to better serve you and your customers. Our commitment to the agent community is to continuously educate you when and where we can. So throughout this webinar, you'll learn about the SD-WAN and SASE tools that Versa delivers to address key security, network, and performance business challenges. You also hear how Coeo ensures successful implementations and manages services and relationships in a way that is most beneficial to you and your customers. Our goal is to have 100% satisfaction from the customer and you, the agent. Next, you'll hear lessons we've learned from agents on how to make these engagements go well. And finally, you'll hear how agents benefit directly from working with Coeo and Versa. At the conclusion of the formal presentation, we'll open up the conversation for questions, comments, and lessons you've learned. So feel free to drop in questions you'd like to answered in the QA button below, and we'll answer as many as we possibly can. Now I'd like to turn this over to John Taylor from Versa, who will introduce the solutions and talk about the capabilities that make Versa and Coeo the right technology partner for your customers who want to address security and network performance challenges that we're all focused on today. So with that, John, I'll go ahead and I'll hand it off over to you.
Thanks, Eric. Really do appreciate that. And good morning, good afternoon, guys, depending on where you are. So let's go ahead and start right with where kind of the data lives today, right? And so, your data and applications, right, or customers' data and applications, really has moved to the cloud, right? And what I mean by that is customers are looking at the cloud. They're either talking about moving to the cloud, they're actively moving their data into the cloud, right? Or they've already moved their data into the cloud and they're adopting it more and more as we go forward. Also with that, the workforce has turned into something incredibly hybrid now, right? And what that means is that, with COVID, right, we kind of went home. Everybody said, look, we're not going to go to the office anymore. We're not going to, interact as much. So now that the workforce has turned into a hybrid scenario, right, where we've seen this big push to go back to the office, you have these workers that are working from home. They come into the office a couple of days a week, right? They bring their laptops in. It's been, probably in a coffee shop. It's probably been at home. It's probably been somewhere, right? And so now you're not really knowing what's going on, with that end device because it's not sitting behind your firewall. Also with that, we have this big risk of IoT right now, right? And what that means is that, people that are coming back into the office, we're seeing more and more of things like thermostats, we're seeing cameras, we're seeing HVAC systems and so forth. These industries that, they're not bringing people out on site, they're not rolling trucks, they're monitoring things. How do you protect an IoT device that you can't put traditional security on? The endpoint is also the new edge, right? Mainly because these guys are moving everywhere, right? My workforce is going somewhere else to do their job now. They're not, like I said before, they're not behind my firewall any longer. So how do I protect, that worker, considering the new edge is where they are? It's not the fact that they're coming into the office any longer. I can remember back when there was a time when it took 10 attackers, right, or 10 threat actors to launch one attack because it used to be sophisticated enough that we didn't have automation, we didn't have tools out there to be able to do that. Now, right, cyber attacks are getting way broader, right? They're moving deeper and they're more sophisticated because I can go to the dark web. I can now buy an attack. I can modify that. And with automation tools, I can launch that attack from anywhere in the world. With that, we see this huge rise of zero-day outbreaks, right? And, what does that actually mean? Well, let's look at data breaches being at an all-time high, right? Because we're having the 0 days. In the case of TransUnion, T-Mobile, LastPass, and so forth, with data in the last couple of years, right? These are the breaches that have happened. So what do I get asked on a daily basis, right? My peers, my customers, and so forth kind of ask me, what can we do to be more unhackable? And I kind of laugh a little bit at that because you can't be unhackable, but you can do a lot to decrease your footprint. You can decrease your risk, and you can increase your security posture. Well, one of those ways is get rid of your castle and moat perimeter. It's really not effective any longer. Like I just said, right? You remember that endpoint, being the perimeter because the perimeter has essentially completely disappeared. But one of the things, right, as an industry that we need to do is we always need to assume that there's a breach inside the network. And that breach is not just someone's behind my firewall. That breach is that endpoint sitting out in the wild accessing some type of resource. To combat that today, what we've done is we've created this defense in depth model, right? This has kind of been a legacy model that we've carried over, into COVID and post-COVID that really creates a bespoke architecture. So things like your advanced threat or ATP, things like, my legacy VPN, trying to move that into a ZTNA type solution, being able to do 802.1x while someone's inside of my office, right? A hybrid worker, sandboxing, IoT security, my IDS, IPS. A lot of these are still different. A lot of customers are trying to consolidate that. But realistically, that in-depth, that's defense in-depth, right? That bespoke architecture is still there. Well, what does that create? Gaps, right? And we have to mind the gap because that's where threat actors play. Is they play where certain solutions don't really talk to each other all that well. I'm trying to bring them into a SIM, right? I'm trying to have a SIM crunch that, but if it can't correlate that data appropriately, there is going to be some type of incident that's going to end up happening right within the environment that is undiscoverable. Another thing that we have out there because of that gap is don't miss the forest for the trees, right? So a lot of people say, well, that's just kind of an old time statement, right? But it truly is there because what we're getting because of that bespoke architecture is alert overload. I'm having logs thrown at me at any given time. I'm looking for what's the here and now. I'm not looking what's behind that log, what absolutely could be causing some type of issue, or could be a breach or an indicator of compromise or something like that. So some architectures, right, that really kind of help out with that. Well, zero trust has been the thing that everybody talks about now. It's really the best security model that's out there. It doesn't focus any longer on what's behind the firewall. It kind of focuses on you, the individual, and kind of where you sit. And so that kind of helps out a lot with our hybrid, our hybrid workers, right? The people that actually do come into the office, because now I focus on them no matter where they are, utilizing multiple different tools and contexts and so forth, right? To be able to authenticate, authorize, right? And basically provide that user, with some type of least privileged access from a zero trust kind of model, right? So that traditional security that we talked about, that castle and moat, right? It's really not prevalent as much anymore. So if they're in the office, if they're away and so forth, zero trust and least privileged, access, right, is really kind of once again, it's the best model out there to protect you no matter where you are. So let's get back to that statement, right, that I was talking about, right? How can we become unhackable, right? Once again, I get asked this on a daily basis. Well, here's what we really kind of look at from an industry's perspective. Remember when I said that you can't become unhackable, but you can decrease your footprint, you can reduce a lot of risk? Well, we're seeing in the industry right now that, security and kind of networking and then the whole kit is really kind of coming down into three pillars, more or less, right? I'm having, my XDR services that are out there, EDR, NDR, CSPM services for those people who are moving to the cloud, right? And want to protect the cloud, not just the data that's in the cloud. SIM and SOAR, so I need automation. I need something to be able to do a lot of my logging and correlation. I'm using things like IAM to be able to track users across the board. AppSec, because we're actually seeing a lot more around protecting the application, and protecting dev and things of that nature from an app level, not necessarily just being there from a network level, right? This gives me things like my WAF, my API sec, and of course now where we're moving more into container security. But Versa, right, and what we believe is that network security is still the entry point. It's the last line, right, or maybe the first line of defense, depending on how your architecture is set up. Being able to deliver zero trust network access, being able to have SWG-based features such as URL filtering, IDS, IPS, next-gen firewalling, right? Within that type of solution, whether it be on-prem, whether it be in the cloud, right? SASE really is that combination of that network piece, primarily SD-WAN, as defined by Gartner, and of course, SSE or Secure Service Edge, right? That helps to deliver also CASB services built in, DLP services. And of course, like I said, when that combines to the SD-WAN side, now you start bringing all of that over a privatized fabric, even though you're using cloud-based services at the end of the day. So Versa is a unified SASE solution, right? Where it's not just single vendor. A lot of vendors out there like to try to call themselves a SASE solution, right? But they're looking at it from a single vendor standpoint. They have multiple point products that they're bringing together to be able to create what Gartner knows as SASE. Versa took a little bit of a different approach with that, where we built all of this into one operating system. So the same manager manages what we call the Versa OS, right? And Versa OS powers our Versa SASE. It powers our on-prem. It powers, anything and everything that is Versa. It provides us with zero trust network access, all those SWG capabilities I just talked about. We have built-in CASB. It's provided as firewall as a service, where it's actually built in, it's not built on your premise, right? It's built into the cloud and you connect to it. It utilizes ATP, right? DLP or data loss prevention. You connect to it with multiple different ways, but the preferred way of being able to do that is through secure SD-WAN. And of course, Versa is also now bringing that back in to the environment, right? And we're actually able to do that from a LAN perspective as well. So a little bit about the landscape, right? I told you about what we're doing, like kind of the reasons why we're out there, right? And how to become unhackable. But let's talk about today, how are customers achieving this? Well, number one is customers are getting entities to resources, right? We all are doing this. I sit at my computer, I want to go to Facebook, I want to go to Google, right? I want to go somewhere. So I'm trying to get to some resource no matter where I am. Companies today, to be able to provide that, have to have three different stacks, right, to make that happen. They have to have something doing identity, something doing network security, right, and of course the traditional networking stack. So potentially NAC, right, or network access control to identify that user, my firewalls, maybe a VPN concentrator, something out there, around to be able to provide the security stuff. And then of course, our classic routers and switches, right, to be able to make the packet get to where it needs to go. But what if I was able to tell you that you could do that within one operating system? So I can take those 3 stacks, right, in multi-appliances and multi-solutions, right? I can get rid of that bespoke architecture, and I can do this in one solution that can actually crunch a lot of that data for you and actually make it so if I have an indicator of compromise, if I have something that's there, I can actually deliver actionable intel to your SIM, and I can help your SIM crunch that data because I'm not delivering as much data to your SIM. That gets me out of the alert overload. That gets me out of, missing the forest for the trees, because now I know exactly what's going on, and then that can be applied to things like your XDR solution and stuff like that. So a little bit about how we make that happen, right? So it's ubiquitous security across the board. Our SASE fabric, right, and our SASE gateways are powered by the Versa OS. So whether you're coming across SD-WAN, whether you're coming across, out to the cloud, those are all SD-WAN connections. And inside of that SASE fabric, we even have the ability to stitch that across the board. We provide visibility, we provide insights, right? Whether you're coming from a branch office, a remote user, through the cloud, getting out to workload protect or getting out to your cloud hypervisors, right? Giving, workload protection there, being able to, get you to your SaaS apps, right? Your internet apps, accordingly. But it really is one unified policy that follows that user, whether they're coming, like I said, remote, they're in a branch office, they're actually physically in the DC, or they're trying to access that in some way. Another big thing about what we've done is that we've powered that with an advanced AI ML engine, right, going forward as well. This helps learn your traffic patterns. It helps make predictive analysis based on what you're doing in any given point of the day. And, right, just to make it a little bit better, right, we also look at ROI, right, that comes back with this. So for that, we have to integrate into the modern enterprise ecosystem. So just about any identity provider that's out there, for a lot of our customers, they're doing a lot of things in multi-cloud right now as well. So they have on-prem data centers. They might have, Microsoft Azure because they have an E5 license. They may be doing AWS for dev or something like that, or maybe they have a compliance set up in AWS that they have to have. They're trying to stitch all of this stuff together and securely. So we can support that. We can support endpoint protection as well, being able to see the endpoint as a user comes on. We're also building in things for CrowdStrike, right, as well as Trend Micro to start being able to share threat data live. We can look at security analytics, right, as well, such as McAfee, Splunk, right, now Cisco, QRadar, right, and so forth. Automation is a big thing for us. We do have automation tools that are built in, but we also work with things like Terraform, HashiCorp, any type of source solution that is out there, as long as it can run a REST API and do a playbook, as well as your service desk integration, right, and mobile device management. So just in case we do see a threat, we can actually initiate a ticket within ServiceNow, right, or even within what Coeo provides today. And then from there, right, while it's taking some automated, some automated preventative measures, someone is back there, actually looking at what is going on to make sure it wasn't a false positive. So what is Versa really kind of doing, right? And this is where we're really partnering with Coeo, right? And we're trying to bring this out, and we're bringing this out to the market, right? For everyone is we're bringing a true zero trust everywhere, solution, for customers, right? And so that really means is that whether you're a remote worker, whether you're an on-premise worker, right? I don't care if you're in the campus branch, right? I'm trying to get to something that may be in the cloud, or I'm trying to protect resources in the cloud and so forth. Our solution plays in all of this, right? Whether it's a networking or a security use case. And this is the power that Coeo really is, like I said, bringing to the market with the Versa Networks, solution, powering that, right, for customers. With that, Josh, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you and let you have it. Guys, once again, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Perfect, John. Thank you so much. So my portion of the presentation today is going to focus more on the sales side of things. So first and foremost, right, why is this important for advisors, right? We just went through a number of different speeds and feeds and issues customers are looking to address, right? So why is this important for you all? Well, first and foremost, it's one of the fastest growing segments within the market, right? We're expecting a 30% year over year growth for this specific product set through at minimum 2027. So again, great time to capitalize on a high customer interest and really a market demand. Next, it's a way to differentiate in an ecosystem that's becoming more and more commoditized, right? You've got unified communications platforms that are coming to a head where everyone's offering same features, functionality, connectivity is very similar. This is a way to really address pain points within an ecosystem, differentiate yourself, and to hit on that next point, right? Really move away from strictly price-driven sales, right? We're looking to address problems, right? Solve issues for clients and take it away from that. Well, this is $5 cheaper than that. Next, it's an extremely sticky solution. If you can address somebody's networking and security issues, the amount of trust that comes with that is tremendous, right? So it gives you an opportunity to go into an account, build a lot of value and trust within that account, and then naturally leads itself into other conversations, things like the internet connectivity, the voice connectivity, various applications they may be using that we're building policy to optimize and secure. And all of this is to say there's a high customer interest in this product set, right? Both from a security standpoint, from managing the hybrid workforce, and from optimizing and ensuring network availability. And then lastly, in addition to a very high growth rate, the first wave of early adoption of SD-WAN deployments are starting to come up for renewal. So a great opportunity to engage with your clients, see if what they went with on kind of version 1.0 is meeting their needs. There's been a massive amount of updates and changes and acquisitions that have occurred. So there's a ton of potential in addressing some of those clients that may or may not be happy with the existing solution. Next, I'm going to go into a few categories of really what's driving customer behavior. What are the problems that we're looking to solve? And go through a couple of key areas to focus on when engaging with your customers, and then give some examples and case studies of how Coeo was able to assist their partners in addressing very specific needs within our customer base. So first, and really we focused on this a lot, right, during this presentation, but it's supporting a distributed workforce. So, there's talks of return to office, things of that nature, but we're almost guaranteed that it's going to be some form of hybrid, right? So we may see less and less of the strictly remote, but organizations are still going to need to support that workforce that may be working from home. They might be working in a shared office, connecting to shared Wi-Fi, things of that nature. And ultimately, from an IT perspective, supporting a distributed workforce, you have a lack of visibility, right? Not only to the security risks, but what are those end users doing? Are they online? Are they supposed to be accessing the applications they are? Are they doing what they're paid to do, right? So you want to gain a visibility standpoint. Next piece is that increased security risk. They're not on your network anymore. They're not sitting behind your moat and castle setup. So you don't know what that endpoint is coming into contact with. Are they plugging things in? Are they getting on shared Wi-Fi and exposing your data, right? So you want to be able to lock that down, build policy, and secure that endpoint and treat it as if it's the edge of your traditional network. The next component in supporting the distributed workforce is it is very difficult to support. They're not on site. You don't know what the issues are. You can't walk over to someone's desk, hop on their machine and figure out what might be going on, right? So we want to streamline that, give visibility, and provide remote troubleshooting tools. And then the next piece, and is often overlooked, is the single points of failure that the traditional architecture for supporting a distributed workforce has. So your traditional VPN models are bringing back all of those end users via some kind of concentrator to a hub location. Now you've introduced a point of failure that not only is going to impact potentially that office ecosystem, but is now impacting the remote workforce. So if that VPN cluster fails, now you have no connectivity. Your end users might be accessing those applications in an unsecure manner. You also have the issue of the connectivity that's at that physical location failing, and now, again, spreading that problem across a much larger population. So specifically, an example or case study of how Coeo was able to assist a distributed workforce in addressing many of these issues is a 50+ site ambulatory healthcare clinic. They are located across the Midwest in several states. And when COVID initially came, they went into a full remote and decided to maintain that hybrid ecosystem. They were on a legacy VPN and cluster, were having issues with lack of visibility. They're building trusted networks, and due to their HIPAA compliances, we're worried that these endpoints might be exposed. They may not be up to date. They may not be following corporate policy, and now they're accessing these applications and data, which is putting the organization at large at risk. And then lastly was the remote troubleshooting and support, right? They were getting tons of tickets from the remote workforce, but due to a lack of visibility, we're really struggling with supporting those folks and resolving those issues in a timely manner. How Coio was able to address those issues is we did deploy the on-premise ecosystem across those sites for the more traditional SD-WAN deployment. We moved all of the workforce that was remote at any point in time onto our SASE solution. We integrated into their Active Directory to build group policy control, so their healthcare practitioners had certain accesses, their call center and support teams had certain permissions and access. And what that allowed us to do was to secure that organization at every front. Ultimately, by doing so, this client saw a massive decrease in the number of tickets, quicker resolutions, and then we work hand in hand with them anytime there's any modifications to any compliances or security policy changes that are required, which has decreased the amount of time their IT needs to dedicate to maintaining this ecosystem. The next area that organizations are focusing on is uptime and disaster recovery. We touched on this a little bit less in this presentation, but this is a massive driver for many organizations into exploring SASE and SD-WAN solutions. And this is what a lot of folks think of when they think of the traditional SD-WAN ecosystem, right? Is keeping up the internet connectivity, ensuring applications are available and stable, and then eliminating single points of failure that may have existed in legacy networks, right? And essentially what we're doing here is we're building those overlay networks, right? We don't care what the connection is, right? We're treating all internet is dual purpose. It's our secure way to communicate internally. It's our way to access applications. We're building third-party VPNs across those connections, whether they're residential, in office, dedicated, et cetera, and making sure that those applications are being secured, that we have visibility into what's occurring, and that we're failing over and keeping those networks available for the customer. And specifically on the SASE side of things, we're doing this down to the endpoint. So giving quicker resolutions. Essentially, we have a solution embedded in there that's looking at where a failure might be occurring. Is it an endpoint issue? Is it a connection issue? Or is it the application you're trying to reach, which will significantly streamline and decrease the time to resolutions. If it's an endpoint, you start through your process. Do we need to restart the machine? Is the machine old? Do we need to replace it? If it's an internet connection and that individual is on residential, that might just be a limitation of where they're at, right? Or is it the application, right? The application they're accessing is experiencing issues, in which case you're going to have to wait it out. But again, it allows you to streamline that process. An example of Coio working with one of our partners to address this very specific need was a 20-site OEM manufacturing organization located in 15 states across the United States. They were operating on a traditional hub and spoke MPLS network, had actually reached out to their partner looking to replace that like for like. Partner engaged with Coio. We got on a call and started peeling back that onion a bit and quickly realized that one of the main drivers for trying to replace that MPLS network was they were having consistent outages at the head ends, which was impacting all of their sites, and operating on a 24/7, 365 business model was costing them millions of dollars when they experienced connectivity issues. Additionally, as we started going through the design process, we uncovered that they had a number of custom built applications and were really struggling with finding a solution that they could build policy around those. Ultimately, our solution natively recognizes about 3,500 applications, but we can build custom application recognition within our solutions and then build very specific policy around that. So these custom applications where some of the other less flexible out of the box solutions were unable to address, we were able to build custom policy, put quality of service on those applications to ensure uptime, do things like packet duplication across their network to provide even further redundancy. And ultimately, this customer was able to cut their overall cost by about 30% while building in a fully redundant automated network and significantly decreasing any kind of issues, not only from network outages, but from application instability. The next is, and we touched on this, is cloud application adoption, right? It's currently estimated that approximately 67% of enterprise infrastructure is already cloud-based. So that could be your public cloud space, that could be SaaS applications, private colos, etc. So these applications and infrastructure are no longer predominantly in their own facilities, right? These are things that they're accessing via the internet. And ultimately, there's three concerns when it comes to that. One is, are these applications secure? How do we know it? And how do we make sure that we have the proper policy in place to ensure that? The next is, how do we optimize, right? If 67% of our infrastructure isn't in our data centers anymore, how are we giving preferential treatment to applications that are mission critical versus something that would be more of a best effort scenario? And lastly is, how do we have visibility into that? Who's utilizing those applications? Is it the appropriate parties? Do we need to build policy to limit access, right? And both off of our traditional SD-WAN and SASE, we're accomplishing all three of these, right? We're able to see who's utilizing what applications, how much bandwidth is that consuming? Do we need to build QoS policy? Do we need to build in additional security policy, whether that be IPsec tunneling to secure mission critical applications where the data is sensitive or has some kind of compliancies, or if it is, again, looking at that ZTNA, right? We trust nothing, we authenticate everybody and ensure that there is no breaches, right? Or limit that significantly. Additionally, another example or use case around organizations who are migrating into a more heavy cloud application model was a 35+ site ambulatory healthcare clinic, specifically in the gastroenterology space. When we engaged with them initially, they had chose a unified communications platform that they were going to be migrating to, and we're in the process of migrating their ERM system into a cloud-based Epic instance. And so they had a lot of concerns. Everything had been on premise. They saw the blinking lights. They had full control of it. And the worst case scenario is they cut off the network if something happened. Well, now all of this is living outside of their ecosystem. How are they going to secure it? How are they going to ensure availability and uptime? Additionally, shortly after deploying our Office ecosystem, they migrated their on-premise data center into a private cloud. So pretty much everything that they had within their ecosystem from an application standpoint was no longer 100% in their control. We came in, addressed the Office ecosystems first. We built specific policy to ensure zero packet drop from the unified communication standpoint. We built in IPsec tunnels into their Epic. We secured their premise. We're providing them with full security stack. And now we're actively working with migrating their end user base onto our SASE product. They had been on a legacy model coming back through a VPN. And ultimately once we finish with that project, they're going to be able to significantly decrease their bandwidth requirements and streamline their access to those applications with a significantly lower security risk. And ultimately, what I view as the most important aspect of what a business really cares about and why they would consider these is network and cybersecurity, right? We touched on this, that security breaches are at an all-time high. We mentioned some very large names out in the ecosystem, but it's even more prevalent in that SMB and mid-market space, right? The cost of an average data breach is also increasing exponentially. It's currently at about $4.5 million per instance, right? So if you're an enterprise, $4.5 million, that might be a drop in the bucket. But if you're in a mid-market SMB customer, that's more than likely going to be enough to shut down your business. And this isn't accounting for things like brand tarnishing, reputation, etc. So again, when a breach does occur, this is extremely costly and detrimental to organizations. And the last part there, and it's a little bit more unique way of uncovering and pitching these solutions, but to cover those data breaches, organizations are signing up for cybersecurity insurance. Last year was the first year since cybersecurity insurance has been an available product that industry actually lost money. And because of that, they're making the process much more difficult and costly to secure. And ultimately, deploying a managed ecosystem for the security and SASE, not only is it going to address the difficult piece, right? You get, your customers reach out. What are our requirements? What do you need from us? You send that to Coeo. We build out that policy. We test it, and we keep documentation, right? So when it, on your annual review for your cybersecurity insurance, Coeo hands you all of the policy. Whatever testing needs to be done, we're included in that process. And it really streamlines and allows for that overall premium cost to go down because you're addressing all of the potential security issues. When it comes to network and cybersecurity, every one of these examples we touched on was really a cornerstone of what they were looking to address. The example I'm going to go into right now was strictly driven from a network and cybersecurity standpoint. And this is a very large municipality in Colorado. Essentially, they operate a few hundred locations within their municipality, and they have to subscribe to a compliancy called CJIS, right, which is Criminal Justice Information Security. They were having a very difficult time doing that. They were on a Meraki platform that they were attempting to manage in-house, and were not having a lot of success with staying in compliancy. And really, their driver was not only to get leading technology, but a partner who could support them and do these changes for them, giving them a co-managed solution. And then again, just to reiterate that last point, right? Any of these organizations, whether it's, in your SLED verticals, your healthcare, your financial, their requirements to stay in compliancy are constantly growing and changing. And it's very difficult for an organization to stay on top of that, to have documented policy and procedure and make those modifications, which is a huge driver for organizations seeking at minimum a co-managed, if not fully managed ecosystem. And ultimately, we were able to win this business because not only were we able to configure their solution to do a regular cadence with their security team to push in these updates, but we gave them a true co-managed solution. So they have read and write access. We're not hiding anything from them. When it comes times for audits, right, we work with their team. We provide them all the documentation they need, but they still have the ability to go in there and make modifications, right? And that's, when you start going more upstream into that mid-market, larger organizations, most of them aren't looking to give up 100% control. They're really looking for a partnership, and that's what we bring to the table. So why choose Coeo, right? There's a lot of different providers out there, a lot of different platforms, and we really think it comes down to a handful of things. Number one is project implementation. And we'll get into a little bit more specifics as we go through. But these are very complicated deployments, and every one of them is an individual case basis. So the partner you select to deploy this is even more important than the underlying technology. Next is we can address a large area within their needs. Not only can we manage the network piece of things, secure it, but we also can provide the bandwidth aggregation, right? So allowing for a streamline in their vendor stack. We offer a host of different flavors when it comes to SD-WAN and SASE. It could be a standalone managed network where they love their Palo or their Cisco security infrastructure. They don't want to change it. They just want managed network. We'll do that. Or we have the ability to come in, take over the security component, and bundle that service for them. Next, and this is probably the most important for the customers, is the customer support side of things. When selecting a vendor, they want to know that there's a real partnership. This isn't being onboarded and then pushed off. And then ultimately, Coeo is 100% channel based. So our success is directly tied with our partner's success. So we're putting all of our resources, both from headcount, product set, incentives, right, to support that community. So we'll drill in a little bit more on the implementation and customer support side of things and how we're differentiating in that process. We're firm believers that really that implementation piece of things starts in the sales process. Again, there are 90 different acronyms, right, when we're discussing these solutions. So what's important to a customer, right? How do we uncover where their limitations are, right? And then ultimately, the pricing model for this solution is based on the services they're going to use on it, along with the amount of throughput that they're utilizing. Many organizations want to, quickly turn around quotes, give out a price, call it a day. We want to understand exactly what folks are using and give them a right fit solution, which ultimately leads to a much more cost-effective licensing setup for the customer. And we are able to pivot for the current, near-term, and long-term needs of the client. When it comes to our onboarding process, so once we've gone through the sales process, we've addressed all of the concerns, we've come up with a solution, customer signs, and they're ready to be onboarded, we'll assign a dedicated project manager and engineering resource. All of our customers will have that same dedicated resource for the life of their contract and services with Coeo, meaning that when it comes time to do reviews from an engineering standpoint, they're working with the same individual who helped them onboard. Same thing, if they need to add, move, change, service, features, functionalities, they're working with that same project manager to quarterback that solution. It gives a very consistent interaction between us and our customers, and same thing for our partners. So our partners who are going to be integral in these projects and participating in that, this gives them an opportunity to build a cadence with a dedicated resource as well. All of our solutions are tested in our lab ecosystem before going out as well. So we're making sure there aren't any dead-on arrivals. We're making sure that the policy is working properly, that our zero trust networking configurations aren't causing issues, etc. Once we've confirmed that in-house, we'll send out the equipment to our clients. We'll then retest. We give our clients a minimum of 7 days after receiving that the actual equipment and activating that service to do testing. If anything is uncovered during that time period, we'll resolve those issues and they will not go into billing until those issues are resolved. So we really pride ourselves on making sure that any kind of blips, any kind of issues that might arise are taken care of on the front end. And during that time period, our clients aren't paying. On the back end, we're supporting any kind of add, moves, changes, tickets that need to be opened by a 24/7, 365 live US-based team, right? And this is something that we think makes a world of difference. When you want to reach out to your service provider, you don't want to have the auto attendant. You don't want to have to go through 8 different commands to get in touch with somebody. You want to pick up the phone, get a person who's going to be able to help you, and that's the business model that we've built. There is regular maintenance, right, when it comes to these services, right? We're updating our signature bases, we're adding features constantly. When it comes to that, we will schedule regular planned maintenances. We're very flexible with our customers, so we're ensuring that there's not going to be any kind of business disruption. We're working hand in hand with them to make sure that that time works for them and it's not just what's convenient for us. Are we supporting our partners, right? As I touched on, we're a 100% channel-based organization. So when you're working with Coeo, there's no competition or conflict of interest with our partners' objectives. We're only successful if you're successful, right? We don't want any kind of reservation in working with us. You don't have to worry about us trying to take something direct, compete with you on an opportunity. When you bring that opportunity to us, every resource that's internal here is in place to support your efforts. Something we're very proud of, and this really harps on everything we touched on, from the way we handle our project management and implementation to our ongoing customer support, is we do have an industry-leading NPS, or Net Promoter Score. We average in the 70s. Our industry averages in the 20s, right? So we're approximately 3 to 4 times industry average. And that really demonstrates that the expectations our partners and customers have for us are not only being met, but exceeded, right? In addition, very specific to our partner community, we pay aggressive reoccurring commissions on all of our services. Since inception, Coio has never lowered a commission rate, and in fact, on several occasions have increased those. So again, really looking to put a lot of resource and energy into making sure that our partner community is being compensated fairly and above market. The second piece there is we do offer periodic spiff incentives, right, as an additional incentive for our partners. We understand how hard you're working and all the options that you have out there, right, when it comes to finding solutions for your clients. We want to make sure that we show our appreciation back to you. The last piece there, and really why we're having this webinar today, is we're constantly investing resources that directly impact our customers and ultimately our partners and their relationships with their customers. The reason we've invested so heavily in our Versa product is because of the success that we've seen with our partner ecosystem and the partners coming to us and saying, hey, here's some additional areas of interest, right, that we're getting questions on. How can you help us address these? So we went back to Versa, went through everything and invested a large sum of resource and capital into addressing those problems and concerns. So in summary, the solutions we discussed today are going to help prevent cyber attacks for your clients. They're going to increase and enhance the performance of the hybrid workforce and the availability of the network. Here at Coio, we're a one-stop shop for all of the SD-WAN, bandwidth, security, and voice needs. Our partnership with Versa is ensuring that not only Coio, but our partner community has access to industry-leading technology that's going to meet and exceed your customers' needs. And it's backed by a business model that's proven successful in implementing and supporting those clients ultimately. And then lastly here, before I kick it back over to Eric, is everything we do here is based on creating a partnership, both with our reseller community, the clients that they trust us with, and we're very confident that the way we operate our business is not going to only meet and exceed your customers' needs, but it's going to make you look good, right? And going to build confidence in your clients and ultimately selecting Coio for their service needs. With that being said, I am going to kick this back over to Eric and we'll go into our Q&A session.
All right. Thank you very much, John and Josh, for explaining the Versa solution and how Coio can help you be successful selling our SD-WAN solution and SASE solution. A couple things here real quick I thought was kind of interesting to maybe put out there that you may not know is that Versa recently won 2 exceptionally large opportunities, and they're really making a name for themselves out in the community. They picked up Walmart, which was a full end-to-end stack solution, which is up to about 10,000 endpoints. Also, as well too, they picked up Walgreens fairly recently as well too. So, not just kind of some small opportunities, but there's some large opportunities that are also going on and moving to Versa as well. Us ourselves, we have a lot of success anywhere from the couple sites all the way up to the 1,000 sites per customers, and do pretty well. And one other thing that I think is pretty exciting to actually mention is that the 2024 Gartner Magic Quadrant report that comes out, Versa has been listed as a leader for SD-WAN and SASE for the 4th straight year. And, this analyst report should give a lot of people some additional peace of mind, especially the CIOs and other IT professionals that you actually sell to daily. They're looking for some form of, additional validation on a solution. So you can always go back to that to look and see how, the analysts are actually reporting on a specific solution, and they're reported very high. So pretty excited about that. And also as well too, if during the call, we did not cover any specific item you'd like to learn more about, please reach out to your channel manager to schedule additional meeting. We're happy to demo, get more technical, or walk through any solution at any given time. And also in the near future, we'll be sending out follow-up webinars to help further the educational process. And so with that said, let's open it up to some questions. We did get a fair amount of them, and so I'll try to get through as many as I can here. The first one that I see here is if they already have infrastructure, can Coeo offer over the top? Josh, would you like to answer that question?
Yep. So absolutely, right. Our design is very flexible. So if they have, they're working with an aggregator, they have connectivity in place, whether that's internet, MPLS, point-to-point circuits, we can layer our service over the top. Or if you do have customers who are looking to consolidate vendors and use a unified solution, we can address that as well. So completely up to our partner and our customers on what they're hoping to accomplish when engaging with us.
Hey, next question is, what does pricing look like and what are the term lengths? We're very transparent on our pricing. You can go to our website and there is a section that is listed as pricing, and you can see the pricing for all of our products, SD-WAN, SASE, internet, UCaaS, SIP trunking, and Microsoft Operator Connect and direct routing. So feel free to go over there to get pricing. Which rolls into the next question was, are the SGWs included or a separate charge, meaning the gateways? And the gateways currently are a separate charge, but they are as low as $20 a month for a rental. And depending on what you need, there's also opportunities to, bundle those in as well too, based on the opportunity. One here from an individual. How do you compare to Kroll Cybersecurities? I'm going to hand that to John, if you're familiar with Kroll Cybersecurity.
So I'm actually not as familiar with Kroll, believe it or not. So the one thing I would have to say is that we'd have to do a little bit of research, right, and kind of follow back up. What I can say is that, coming from a broad spectrum, right, not just from a particular vendor that's out there. The short is that we compare to just about everybody, right? That's including some of the bigger vendors that we have, that they may have a fort in their name, right, or may start with a Palo, for instance, or something of that nature. But we do compete on that scale, right? That's the reason why Eric was talking about before, like, where do we rank with the analyst, reports, right, and stuff like that. So how we go to market, right, and how Coeo is bringing us, to market, right, is one thing. Like I said, I'd have to look at Kroll, cybersecurity, and actually kind of figure out exactly, what they do and what they offer. What I can say on top of that as well is that we don't really we don't compete with them, right? And when I say we don't compete, I haven't seen them in any competitive deal that I've been involved with, right, at all. So I haven't seen them. That leads me to believe that we either probably do something or that we offer something that is that is not 100% to what they're doing. Not going to sit there and say we don't compete all across the board, but once again, we'll follow back up and we'll give you a little bit more of an in-depth analysis about that.
Okay. Excellent. Another really good question, getting a little bit more technical, is we have multiple customers with instances in Amazon Web Services. Does Versa have a solution to improve security and connectivity within AWS? John, I'll hand that
I'll go
back
ahead and run with that one. So the quick answer to that, if I had a big mic sitting right here in front of me, would be a thundering yes, right? We absolutely do. So number one is that we're not a CSPM or an SSPM, right? We are we do protect the data that's in flight. So we can protect your applications, your workloads. We can protect, kind of whatever there, whether it be, in AWS, primarily, but we do work in, like I said, that multi-cloud, instance as well. You can put us in, into a transit VPC, right, within AWS. You can use us, for all of that navigation, right? Our router can be the, the navigation point to multiple different, VPCs that you may have. The other side of that is that the security suite, right, as Eric was talking about with the SD-WAN side, all these security features that we've been mentioning, right, are available within that operating system because it's one operating system. So can we protect the data that's in flight? Absolutely, we can do that. We can do that from a cloud perspective. And then on top of that, we can actually utilize that same device to create tunnels right into an SSE environment. So as a user comes in through ZTNA, they have connectivity right through that SASE cloud that I showed with that ubiquitous security slide to be able to traverse into that in cloud environment in a secure fashion, right, over an encrypted tunnel. So like I said, the short answer is absolutely we can do that, and we can do that in a multitude of different ways.
But taking that one step further as well, too, there's many public clouds out there supporting virtual servers and virtual networks. Do you also, as well, too, have the capability of handling Microsoft Azure and any of the other major platforms out there?
Yes, sir, we do, right? So we can be deployed through Microsoft Azure, GCP, and there's a host of others, right, that are out there as well. Oracle, right, things like that, some of the lesser known ones that are in play. So we do try to make sure, right, and the play on words of versatile, we are versatile in that aspect. We want to be able to make sure that we play in all the hypervisors because we know a customer is not just going to utilize, right, the top big three. Some of our commercial customers, right, do go toward some of those lesser known cloud instances, primarily for cost, right, availability, things of that nature. So we want to make sure that we're attending to all size of customers, right? Whether they're the globals, right, the 20,000 user and above, down to the 30 user and above.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Next question is, do you have any tools that help us as well as our customers monitor and manage the network? Josh, would you like to handle that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, at the core of everything we've discussed today, these are tools that can be used for that, right? So we're giving insights into exactly what's occurring on the network, what's occurring on the endpoint, and if all of our customers have access to the same NOC visibility that our team is utilizing. We're happy to train end users and partners on accessing, pulling reports, and being able to decipher that data that lives within the director level view.
And to expand that just a little bit more, if you guys would like to see a demo of that, please reach out to your channel managers. The Versa and our platform, as far as actually presenting NOC solutions to you and your customers, is actually quite in depth and very nice. And it gets a lot of positive vibes from our customers. Next one is we deploy different VPN solutions to remote users. Why do I need SASE? John, would you like to tackle that one?
Sure, absolutely, right. So the biggest thing that we've seen here lately, right, has been customer says they have a VPN solution. So my first question to that customer is, are you doing traditional VPN, purely implicit access, giving network connectivity? Is that VPN concentrator, right, or that VPN appliance sitting on premise, right, or is it sitting out in the cloud, right, or using something else for ZTNA? So all because you have VPN, number one, let me be very clear, is SASE is not just VPN. It's a multitude, right? It's almost like it's a framework, right, for an instance, because it offers so many different features, right? VPN is just a feature, right, that's part of that. So if you have a customer, number one, that's utilizing a ZTNA from a competitor, they can keep that as long as they like it and they love it. They just have to figure out a way, right, using something like IPsec or GRE to be able to hook back into their environment if they decide they want to use Versa for SD-WAN, maybe even use it for northbound firewalling, right, and so forth. The other side of that is a lot of customers are moving toward more of that unified experience, right, or at least more of that single vendor type of experience. They're absolutely getting rid of their traditional VPNs. They don't get the visibility. They don't have the ability to prevent lateral movement. They don't get to see what the customer or what the user is accessing in real time. They're seeing behind, right, what's being accessed, what has already been accessed, right? So That is what the VPN, the ZTNA solution does from a SASE and a SSE, type standpoint. And then from there, right, we're seeing them move to that single vendor, like I was talking about before, where I don't have to have a one vendor doing one thing. I have a bespoke network. I have a SIM trying to crunch this. I'm trying to figure out what's my indicator of compromise. I'm getting alert overload and so forth. They're trying to come back in and say, I want one log to tell me, is this user doing something bad, right? So that's the long-winded way of saying that. Does a customer need SASE? No. Does a customer get a lot by moving to SASE? Are they moving to something more next gen? Are they moving to something that can decrease their cybersecurity risk? Are they moving to something that can actually decrease their cybersecurity, right? Or even their physical footprint, make their network less complex, make it so that they could have ubiquitous security, right? Things of that nature. Absolutely, right? And that's the business case, right? Not just the technology side, but that's the business case that a lot of customers are kind of looking for is, how do I decrease risk, right? And how do I increase my cybersecurity posture at the exact same time?
Right. Excellent. You guys are asking some very, very good questions. Got a couple more here. Next one is, did I hear correctly that Coeo invested recently on most current software solutions with Versa? The answer is correct. Yes, it is. Yes, we did. Over the past 12 months, we've completely upgraded our entire infrastructure to give remote locations, remote geographically dispersed locations upgraded to Versa, and we have the latest and greatest software and hardware infrastructure in place to support their software. So we're really excited about that. It gives us all capabilities of SD-WAN, security, and the SASE component. So we are super excited about that and are eager to get out and communicate as much as we possibly can. The next one is, would you share this ecosystem slide with us? Yeah, we will share the entire presentation with everyone on this call. So be on the lookout for some additional information on us from this presentation. And let's see, the last one I have. This is a good one. I have a 3-location bank in rural Kentucky. What's a few good questions to ask to get a conversation started regarding cybersecurity? John and Josh, I'll let you guys take this. John, you can go ahead and go first.
So this is kind of interesting because I've recently had another customer, right, not in Kentucky, right, similar size, right, and so forth. Went head to head with the competitor and just won the deal, right? And it was a turnaround in 30 days. So kind of keep that in mind, is that you can make this an incredibly short sales cycle, right, in the process of doing this. The first thing I would say is that not knowing the customer, right? And so I'll give you a couple scenarios. Number one, let's say they've already got an SSE product, right? They're already using one of our competitors that is out there. I'm a little bit of people here call me like a little bit of a heretic, right? Because I ask questions that, in sales people say are no-nos, but we're getting to this point where we have to start asking questions to customers like, how do you like it, right? How is it working for you? And because a lot of times we hear that I already have something, so we want to shy away. We want to try to find what the customer would procure from us, right? We don't want to try to displace something. So, like I said, ask them, right, how they like it. Believe it or not, a lot of customers out there doesn't like what they currently have, and it's because it's a lot of newer technology. It's because a lot of competitors put this bespoke architecture type stuff together. They're probably looking, right, for something else. Other things that you can look for too. Let's say that they don't have one of our competitors already in place, right? And so they have a more traditional network setup. I would start asking them around, what's their risk footprint today? Have they thought about what their risk footprint is? Are they worried, right, that there might be an incident already happening, right? Or is that keeping them up at night? I would look for items such as that to be able to relate to the customer and say, look, there's ways to increase your cybersecurity footprint, right, or posture, more or less, right, and also be able to give it to you. Number one, being able to be cost effective, right, in that point, but also number two, right, being able to give it to them securely that won't disrupt their operations, and that's something that Coeo is very experienced with, right, and what they bring to market. So those are the couple things, right, that I usually kind of go in with. That's what helped me recently, right, with another with, like I said, with another customer, similar size, right, similar things. And the last thing I'll also leave you with too is that they may start with the cybersecurity side, or they may start with the SD-WAN side, right? A lot of these customers that are that small usually has one team that can do it. The best part about this is that because it's a singular solution, rob Peter to pay Paul a little bit, right? They may have a network budget that's there, but if you can already utilize some of that network budget to bring cybersecurity in, or vice versa, if you can utilize some of that cybersecurity budget to start bringing that network side in, right, they're going to be able to see how they can stretch their dollar. It's another business use case for them, especially in this type of economy. They want to know how to stretch it. They are going to stretch it. And this is just another way to show more value and a lower total cost of ownership with a higher ROI at the end of the day.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think this will probably be one more question. And I think we're going over just a little bit of our time, but one more came in, and it was, will you make a joint visit to a customer office? The answer to that question is absolutely yes, we will do so. We actually pride ourselves on actually working with you and joint selling with you and bringing the resources in to help you be successful. Because obviously, if you guys are successful, we're successful. So if you're wanting to partner with us, we'll sell with you side by side. We'll go on site with you, and we'll bring resources that actually can help us actually properly diagnose the situation, and then gather the requirements and put forth the right solution. Versa will also as well too engage with us as well. So you will have a full team that's willing to come out and help you sell the product if you choose to engage us. And I think with that wraps up all of the questions here for today. I didn't see any other ones come in. So I think that's a wrap for the webinar. And I just want to thank you all for taking the time to join the session. And I look forward to partnering and winning business with you in the future. Any questions, comments, please reach out to us, reach out to the channel managers, and we'd be happy to engage with you. And once again, thank you very much for taking your time to listen to our webinar. Have a great day.